Hey, Wealth Lab 7 users, Glitch here. Today, let's talk about what's new in Wealth Lab 7 Build 41. So let's get started. The first item I want to cover is optimization result filtering. So for that, let me open up one of the sample strategies, NeoMaster. We'll click Optimize, and we will run a exhaustive optimization of this strategy on one symbol. We are running it on Boeing for 10 years of history. And here's our result, the tabular result, which shows all of the selected performance metrics, the parameters, the metric results. So the new thing to look at here is this area on the right, which is a new filtering capability. So here in this filter section, you can compose a multi-part filter to zero in on just the optimization results you're looking for. So let's say, for example, let's scroll through here and say we only want to see results where a Wealth Lab score was greater than 10. I would just scroll down, select Wealth Lab score as my metric, and then change the operand to greater than, and provide a value of 10, and click Add Filter. So here we go. It's filtered our results, and it's showing the 19 results where the Wealth Lab score was greater than 10. Let's say we wanted to add a condition. We want a minimum number of positions. So let's say position count is greater than 100. Let's add that filter. We wind up with three results here in our tabular view, which we can then sort just like normal. Right click to run a detailed back test with those parameter values. Just like you could do anything else with the normal tabular result, you can do that with the new filtered result. If I want to clear my filter, I can clear it or remove individual items. Then we get back to the overall result of 56 items here in the list. On the bottom, we have filter sets. So if you have a set of filter conditions that you commonly use, you can save it as a filter set, and then it'll show up in this list. You can select it, and then your filter will be applied again. This profitable filter filters for profit greater than 0. So there we go, a fully enhanced filtering capability for tabular optimization results in Build 41. Next, let's talk about a new backtest preference. I go to Preferences, Backtest. We have a new preference here, Position Mapping. And to illustrate that, let's open up a strategy that manages multiple positions. So I'm going to open up this position match strategy that I coded up, and it's simply issuing 3 buys, one 80 bars from the right of the chart, 160 and 140, and then it's issuing 1 sell. So let's just go ahead and run that, and let's take a look at the trades on the chart. So we can see here's the first buy, and here's the second buy, here's the third buy, and here's the sell. So the sell wound up matching with the last buy that we entered. So the default logic in Wealth Lab 7 is sells will match with the last position that was entered. Now you can change that default. The default is last in, first out. If I change this to first in, first out, and I rerun the strategy, now my sell will be matched with the first position that was entered. And the last option here is smallest quantity to largest. If I run this again, Now my cell is matched with the second position because the second position happens to have the smallest quantity, 506. The others are 523 and 511. So this lets you control in a multi-position simulation how the matching of the exit order is conducted. This also comes into play, and let's set it back to our last in, first out default, with another new feature that I want to talk about next that actually was part of Build 40, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it in the Build 40 video. Let's go back to our strategy here and do a quick edit of the code. We'll put this place trade in brackets, and place trade always returns an instance of a transaction object in our framework. The transaction object represents the order that you're placing, buy, sell, short, cover. That contains properties such as quantity, order price, everything that you would expect in a transaction. So the new thing here that was part of Build 40 actually is you can now assign a quantity to the exit transaction. You could always assign a quantity to an entry transaction to override the default position sizing. But now, watch what happens when I assign a quantity of, say, 1,000 to my exit transaction. If you remember, all of those buy positions were in the neighborhood of 500. If I assign a quantity of 1,000 to this exit, let's see what happens here. So interesting, we have two exits now. So the first exit sold the 511 of the last position, which we would expect, but the remaining shares, the 1,000 minus 511, were actually applied to the middle transaction, and it sold 489 of them. So it actually split this position into two. So there's two positions here now, one at 489 and one at 17. So by supplying a quantity that's greater than the number of shares in the position that that cell will match, you can effectively split the position into multiple positions. In previous versions of Wealth Lab, we had a split position method. It was a little bit clumsy and hard to understand. We feel that this method is much more natural. You simply assign the quantity to what you want, and the backtester handles it automatically for you. So what happens if we assign the quantity to a value that's less than the number of shares in the last position? Well, like we kind of saw before, it will split the last position into two and sell the 200 that we assigned. So this last position is now split into two positions, and it sold 200, and we're left with 311 open. So that is the split position and even split transaction logic that's part of Wealth Lab 7 now when you assign a quantity to an exit order. I think that's all we're going to cover for this video for Build 41. There are a couple other things in Build 41, some fixes and a couple other items you can look at in the changelog, but that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you all on the forum.